and they'll state the registry. La Yashal. Imadium, which means to stand. Wapanyahak wadam, and face the east. What we're going to do is the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. The east will be this way. Right? It'll be this way. Right? The Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. Abanawa, Shabashamayim, Kodash, Hayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakavka, Daba'a, Batazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Nathana Laham, Kal, Yawam, Wasalak Nawa, Kabawak Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kabawak Yanawa, Wala'a, Tabaya'a Nawa, Banasayawan, Abol, Hawashai Nawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Watapara, La Awalamyum, Aman. In the English, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever, so be it. We're going to do Hakak, the power in the Hebrew, Yahweh, by Shem Yahweh Shai, Babu Kwashah, Nathan Lanawa, Hakak, Hakak, Lava Pa'ah, Kal Makala, Wakal Manawa, Hakak, La Tahar, Hamad Zarayim, Hakak, La Hakwayim, Hamathium, Hakak, Al Rakawa, Hatama'ala, La Garashan, by Shem Yahweh Shai, the water Aman. In the English, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Let's get Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'a, Ayanya, All-Haharyim, Ma'ayan. Warrior. Go sit down, Baba Kwashah. Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'a, Ayanya, All-Haharyim, Ma'ayan, Yaba'a, Isaiah, Ma'aim, Yahweh, Aisha, Shemayim, Wa'arataza, Al-Yathan, Lamawat, Regalka, Al-Yanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yashun, Shawamor, Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al-Yad, Yamyanka, Yawamam, Hashamash, La'a, Yakaka, Wayarak, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamorka, Makaurai, Yashamor, Afnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamor, Taza'afka, Wabawa'aka, Maita, Wa'ai, Iwalam, Aman. In the English, I will lift up mine eyes into the hills, from which cometh my help. My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and even forevermore, so be it. Psalms 83 in the Hebrew. Alahayim, al damayalaka, al the Harach, wa al tashakwat al kayahana awa yapyaka yahama yawan woman shanayaka nasha'awa ra'ash al aimaka ya ibrayamwa subad wayata ya aitazawa al tazapawanyaka armorwa lakawa walakakidam magoya wala'a yazakar shamyasha ala aiwad kaya nawa aitazawa lab yakadwa aljaka boya yakarafwa ahalya adawam wayashama alayam mawaaba wahagoyam gabal wa aimawad wa aimalak palashak amnishabya tazawar gam ashawar nalawa aimam hayawa zarawai labanyalawat salah aishalaham kamadyan Salakia. Aisha laham kamadyan kasayasa ra'a kayabyan banafal koyashwan nashamadwa ba'ayanda ara hayawa daman la adama shayatamwa narayabawa ka'ira wa kazaaba wa kazabak wa katazalmanai kal nasayakamwa ashar amorwa nayavasha lanawa na'awa alahaya shayatamwa kagalgala kakwash lapanya raka ka'ash taba'ira ya'ira wa kalahaba talahat haryam kad taradapma basa'iraka wa basawapaka tabahalam mala'a panyaham kwalawan wa yabakwashwa shamka yahawa yabashwa wa yahabalwa ay laki wa yabahalwa ay wa yakhaparwa wa yaabadwa waya da'aiwa kaya ata shamka yahawa labadka al yawan al kal rataza aman. In the English, keep not that silence, O Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites, of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asher also is joined with them. They have opened the children of Lot, Salah, do unto them, as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kasad, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb, and like Zeeb, yea, all their princes, as Zebah, and as Zamunah, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of Yahweh in possession. O my power, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth for wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name. O Yahweh, let them be confounded, and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame, and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the Most High over all the earth. So be it. We're going to do the blessings in the Hebrew. Brakatha Yahweh, wa Yahweh Shai, wa Mayaka Allah, wa Alahayim, Matazab Ya'ah, Alawat Yahana, Ha Alawatyim, Ha Saranyim, Ha Kudazayanyim, Ha Koyayalyim, Wa Agwafyin, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, the Wada Aman. In the English, bless you Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai, and Michael, and the angels, commanding General Yahana, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. We're going to do bless Israel in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Barak Lanawa, Wa Yasha'ala, Wahab Bayaf Saparyim, Barak, Rapa'ah, Magun, Hagun, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, the Wada Aman. What we just said in the English, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless us and Israel and the school. Bless, heal, shield, protect our loved ones. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Sar, which means to turn. Yeshabyim, which means to be seated. God. Shalom, Israel, where the Israelite School, Universal Practical Knowledge, start at the 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group, nor any other Christian organization. All right? Most High in Christ. So now where we left off was in the book of Joshua. Now it's very important to come to these classes, man. The Sabbath service is a very, very important, it's like a very important class to attend. This is where you learn your language. This is where we learn our culture. Like the way we were able to hold on to our culture and to our traditions was through keeping these high holy days, including the Sabbath. Like the Sabbath was one way to continue, right? Was able so we could hear our language and see what we needed to be, so we could see what was needed to be done as priests, especially if you were a priest or becoming a priest. Like that was something very important, man. Like the Sabbath service is something you have to know how to do as a priest. You cannot be a priest and not know how to do the Sabbath service. That's like you being a priest and not knowing the law. You're useless. You're useless as a priest if you don't know the law. You're useless as a priest if you don't know the Sabbath service. That's like brothers, like priests were put to death because they did not know how to do certain things in the synagogue and the temples. Like in the tabernacles, like in the house of the Lord. Like the Lord would order certain priests to be put to death because they made mistakes and they did not know their job. Like brothers got put to death because they did not burn the right incense in the tabernacle of the Most High, in the house of the Lord, which is the temple. All right, like it was very, very important as a priest to know your job. Like to be a priest is a very serious thing, even to this day. Like everyone looks at the ISUPK like we're radical and we're crazy and no, it's because in the Bible it's a very serious job to be a priest. It's not something to be taken lightly. It's a very serious job. And if you want to become a priest or you are a priest, you are to take that office very seriously. You don't want to just, I don't want to say the word, but you just don't want to, procrastinate on certain things or just, you don't want to slack on certain things. You don't. This office is a very serious office. This is the office that was created to fix blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. All right, that's in our law as well. That's in our history. It was always the priest that was spread about teaching the law and teaching the people how to keep the law, taking in sacrifices from the Israelites and taking sacrifices from the people and going to people's doorsteps and beating them up and all this other stuff and putting them to death because they sinned. Like it was the priest's job to judge the people and judge situations throughout Israel. Like to hold the office of a priest was to build the nation of Israel continuously. Like it was a non-stop job. Like just because we had our own land, that did not stop the priest from building up the nation of Israel. We were constantly building up the nation of Israel throughout generation after generation, even during the time of King David, even during the time of King Solomon, during the time that we didn't have any kings, like in the book of Judges, there was always priests that was raised up to teach the nation of Israel and to fix and build up the nation of Israel. Like that was the office of a priest and the job of a priest. Very important. We do not want to take that lightly. All right, I believe we were in Joshua chapter 8. Well, Salaki, we finished off Joshua chapter 8. And I believe we went to, let me see. I believe we finished it off. I think, okay, Josh, we want to start at that's like a Joshua chapter 9. All right, we're going to be now in Joshua chapter 9. I believe we went through the brother, and we definitely seen the brother. He was put to death and his family, all right, due to the fact that he had that Babylonian garment. If y'all do recall that, right? So we're in Joshua chapter 9. All right, we're going to be in Joshua chapter 9 in the Hebrew. All right, Joshua chapter 9 in the Hebrew, starting at verse 1. So previously in last Sabbath service class, the brother that caused Israel to not win in the war
because he touched the accursed thing and caused men to die, right? Because we went to war and the Lord was not with us, right? The brother, right, would touch the accursed thing. And he had silver and gold, was like, not just, he touched the Babylonian garment. And he had other silver and gold that he was not supposed to touch, right? That he was not supposed to take himself. So he did not obey what the Lord said what not to do. Like, it's very, very important to do what the Lord says to do. Like, you are not the only one, and we are not the only ones that get punished by ourselves when we don't listen to what the Lord says to do. Like, this is not an individual thing. To serve the Lord was never really an individual thing. We always want to look at it as if it's a unified thing to serve the Lord. If one of us do not want to serve the Lord, it can affect everyone else. We have to look at it as that aspect. Like when the brother took the Babylonian garment, he expected, we may have expected because of the Christian church, only that brother was going to be put to death. But no, the Lord took his sons and his daughters and all of his belongings, including his house, and burnt it and stoned them. Like, it was a very important thing to realize what we do does not just affect us, but everyone else as well. Like, that's why it's so important to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments and just listen to what the Lord says to do. That is throughout the Bible, is to listen to what the Lord says to do. If you do not listen to what the Lord says to do, consequences come, not just for you, but for everyone else. All right? We want to look at it in that aspect as always. You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm eating pork, it may not kill me, but it could kill someone else. It could take someone else's life. It can affect someone else. Like, perfect example, being a drug addict. It's not just killing me. It's also killing my kids. It's also killing my family members in so many other ways, because they have to watch me kill myself while I'm doing all these drugs. Like, sinning against the Lord and not listening to what the Lord says to do it does not just affect you. All right. So Joshua chapter 9 verse 1. All right, Yahweh Shai chapter 9 verse 1. What Yahaya, Kashamai, Kal, Hamalakim, Ashar, Ba'aibar, Hayaradan, Slaki Bahar, Bashak, Slaki, Wabashapal, Slaki Shapala, Wabashapala, Babakal, Khawak, Hayam, Hagadawal, Al Mawal, Halabanwan. It's like in Lebanon. It's like in Lebanon. Halabawan. It's like it. Halabanawan. Labanawan. It's like it. Halabanawan. Hakafia. Waha Amaria. Bakanai. Not Bakanai. It's like it. Hakanainaya. Hakanainaya. Haparaz. Haparazia, Hakawaya, Kaya, it's like it, Hakaya, it's like it, the Hittites, Hakaya, Wahaya Bawasya, right, Wahaya Bawasya. Verse 2. It's like it. Tazawa. Kwapataza. It's like it. Kwapatazawa. Kwapatazawa. Yakadwa. La lakam. Lahalakam. Ain. Yahawashai. Wayam. It's like it. Wa'ain Yasha'ala. Pa akad. Verse 3. What's Yashab? Wayashabya? Gabayawan. Gabayawan. That's Gibeon. It's like it. Gabayawan. Shemaiah, Wa'ak, Ashar, Aisha, Yahawashai, Layarakakwa. It's like it. Layarayaka. Laya Rayakakwa, Wala Ayla, Slaki, Wala Aya, Wala Aya, Wala Aya, Wala Aya, Slaki, Wala Aya. Verse 4, Waya Aishwa Gam, Hama, Ba'ira, Ba'irama, Waya Kal, Waya Kalwa, Waya Tazak, Waya Tazatayar, Waya Tazatayarwa, Waya Kwakwa, Shakyam, Salaki Shakyam. Salaki, that was verse 4. Shakyam, Balayam, Lakamawariyam. When I adwa yayan balayam wabakwet slaki wama bakwa ayam matazar slaki wama tazararium tazarar slaki wama tazararium. Verse 5, when I alwa balawat wama talala slaki wama talaawa Baragal Yaham. Washalamwa. It's like a Shalamawa. Washalamawa. Balawat. Al Yaham Wakal Lacham Tazayadma. It's like a Tazayadama. Yabash Haya Bakwadyam. Verse 6, Wayakalwa al Yahawashai al Hamachana Hagala Slakia Hagalagal Waya Amarwa al Yawa wa al Ashash Slakia Ayash Yasha'ala Ma'arataza Wakhawak Mawakwak Slakia Wakhawak Makhawakha Ba'anya Slakia Ba'anwa Aina, it's like Wa'aita, Korathwa, Lanawa, Baraya. Verse 7. Waya Amar Ayash Yasha Ala Al Hakara, it's like Hakawar, Hawaya, Awalya, Bakarabya, Atha, Yawashab, it's like Yawashab, Wa'ayad, it's like our Wa'ayak, Akarat, Laka, Baraya. Alright, let's get it in the English. Joshua chapter 9 verse 1 in the English. And it came to pass when all the kings, Joshua chapter 9 verse 1, and it came to pass when all the kings which were on this side Jordan, in the hills, in the valleys, and in all the coast of the great sea, over against Lebanon, the Hittites and the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, heard thereof. So there was a thing. So it came to pass when all the kings of these nations heard what was going on, what the nation of Israel was doing. Like the Lord is going to explain that these kings heard these things. Verse 2, that they gathered themselves together to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord. So now does anybody know why? Okay. If y'all were following along, if y'all been in the Sabbath service for the past, maybe I want to say a week now. Well, I mean 3 to 4 weeks now. Remember, Joshua was taking the nation of Israel, and we were going after war after war after war. And the Lord was with us. And we were winning these wars. And these other nations around about, when they heard that we were winning these wars, right, their hearts melted and they were afraid of us. But now, can anyone tell me, if anyone's paying attention in class, right, can anybody tell me why all of a sudden, right, why all of a sudden these nations now have the courage to gather themselves together to fight against Joshua and with Israel with one accord? Can anybody guess why? Can anybody guess why they had the courage to do this now all of a sudden? It says that they gathered themselves together to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord. Remember, it said in verse 1, and it came to pass when all the kings which were on this side Jordan, the hills, and in the valleys, right, and in all the coast, in the great sea against Lebanon, right, the sea over against Lebanon, the Hittites, and the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, and the Hivite, and the Jebusite heard thereof. There was something that they heard. What is it that they heard? Can anybody guess? What did they hear? If anybody remembered from last week's class on Saturday, what did they hear? Does anybody know what they heard? Anybody want to remember what they heard? There's a lot of things that they may have heard. Can anybody guess what they heard? I'll give y'all some time to answer. We got a little bit of time. Can anybody remember what they heard? Anybody online or in class? Either or. What did these nations hear? They must have heard something that they now are going to gather themselves together to fight against Joshua and with Israel. Now remember, before, these nations didn't even want to bother us because we were winning. And their hearts melted when they heard these things because the Lord was with us. Like there's some great cloud and some angel following the nation of Israel. You understand? So these nations are looking like, what's going on here? There's some big cloud in the air, some big cloud in the air. It's, it was sunny over here just a minute ago. There's no clouds like that over here. There's some cloud following y'all. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who this big weird man, which is an angel, the captain of the host, is with y'all. Like, I don't know what's going on. I want nothing to do with y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like the people, their hearts melted. But for some reason in verse 9, they all get the courage somehow. Can anybody guess why? I'll give y'all just a few more moments and I'll just give y'all the answer. It says that they heard thereof, verse 2, that they gathered themselves together to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord. Okay, I'm going to give y'all the answer if y'all don't know. It's because they heard that the Israelites lost in verse 8. When we went against the kingdom right, we lost. Right, we lost because the Lord was not with us because one of the brothers touched the accursed thing. So now when these other nations heard that we did not win against one of these nations, now they have the curse like, okay, maybe there's a chance that we can stop the Israelites. All right? So we can stop the Israelites. Now they got some courage, like, oh, snap. Okay. A few thousand men fell against the kingdom of Ai. Okay, we might have a chance. If we gather ourselves together and make our numbers great, maybe we have a chance to beat the Israelites too as well. Like Joshua had a name out there. Like Israelites had a name out there. Like remember, this is the Israelites you're talking about. Joshua had a name out there. Like Joshua, he was that brother. Like the brother, it's right here. They knew about Joshua and the Israelites. They're like, ooh-wee. Them brothers, they know how to fight, they know how to go to war. They got some cloud. They got some big giant cloud over them. They got this captain that's the captain of hosts with them. They got an angel with them that looks scary and terrifying. Like Joshua got a name out there because of the Lord. All right, Joshua has a name out there because of the Lord. Salaki, if I'm not mistaken, it says that in Joshua chapter 3 or chapter 4. It says how Joshua has a name because of the Lord. Because the Lord made Joshua great. All right? I believe it says that if I'm not mistaken. But let's continue. Verse 3. And when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard that Joshua had done unto Jericho and to Ai. So it now is explained in the next chapter. And that's like next chapter, the next verse. About what happened in Gibeon, and the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done unto Jericho and to Ai. Verse 4. They did work willily, and went and made as if they had been ambassadors, and took old sacks upon their asses, and wine bottles, old and rent, and bound up. So when they heard the things that was going on, this is what they were doing. They gathered up their asses, they gathered up the wine bottles, old and rent. They bound it up, meaning they tied it up. Verse 5. And old shoes, and clouded upon their feet, and old garments upon them. And all the bread of their provision was dry and moldy. So they got all these old shoes, they got up all this old stuff, old garments, they got it all. Verse 6. And they went to Joshua unto the camp at Gilgal, and said unto him and to the men of Israel, We be come from a far country. Now therefore make ye a league with us. So now these brothers heard. Now these other, this is what, let me break it down for you. The nations in verse 1 heard that, they didn't win against Ai, and a few brothers fell, right? But they must have missed the rest of the story, that when we repented from the Lord, we went back and we won. All right? We didn't lose the second time. All right? But now the other nations, and the inhabitants of Gibeon, they heard what was done in Jericho and to Ai. So they didn't want no parts. They said make a league, right? So they're not coming to go to war, right? They're trying to make a league with the nation of Israel, all right? So they're asking, we be come from a far country. Now therefore make ye a league with us. Verse 7. And the men of Israel said unto the Hivites, Peradventure ye dwell among us, and how shall we make a league with you? So now the Hivites is asking, Joshua is now asking, the men of Israel said unto the Hivites, Peradventure ye dwell among us. So you adventure that you dwell, how would you dwell among us? And how shall we make a league with you? So now he's asking, how are we going to make a league with you? How are you going to be among us? All right? This is a question that's being asked. All right, let's start at Joshua chapter 8. Joshua chapter 8 in the Hebrew. Wa ya amor wa al Yahawashai. I bayar. It's like ibad yaka. Anak nawa. Wa ya amor alaham Yahawashai maya atham. Wa ma'ayan. The Ba'awa. Verse 9. Wa ya amorwa Aljawa wa arataza Rakhawak. It's like Rakhawak ha Ma'ad Ba'awa Ibadyaka Lasham Yahawa Alayaka Kaya Shemainawa Shemaiwa Wa'af Kal Ashar Aisha Bamatazarium. It's like Bamatazarium. Verse 10. Wa'af Kal Ashar Aisha Lashanya Malakya Amor Ha-Amoria. Amor Ha-Amoria. Ashar Ba'aibar Hayaradan Lasayakwan. Lashayak Sayakwan. Shayakwan. Malak Hashabwan. Khashabwan. Wala Aiwan. Wala Aiwag. Alright, Wala Aiwag. Malak. Hashaban. Habashan Ashar. Ba'ashathar. Like it. Ba'ashatharawak. Asharat. Like it. Ashatharawak. That's Ashtaroth. Verse 11. Waya Amarwa ala Yanawa. Like al Yanawa. Zakoyan Yanawa. Zakoyan Yanawa. Wakal. Yashabya. Ratazanawa. La Amor. Kakwar. Slakia. Kwakwa. Bayad come. Tazada. Ladarak. Walaka. Slakia. Walakwa. Lakora'atham. Walakwa. Hey, Salakia, I'm going to pause on that real quick. I don't know if you guys heard what I said, but it says right here, quakwa, right? Quakwa. That quack right there is laquak. Remember, if I broke that down when the verbs, I broke that down that there are contractions, right, in the Hebrew. Like it's very, very rare that you will see laquak fully written out as a la, a qua, and a ka. They take the la out and it says quack. Like that's like a contraction, but it's still saying laquak. But you say quack. Another, I just said walakwa. That la and that ka put together la. That's short for yalak, meaning to go. But that's a contraction. Lak is short for yalak. So instead of saying yalak, you can say lak. Instead of saying laquak, you can say quack. It's in the scriptures. I want y'all to kind of get used to seeing that, because I don't want y'all to think like it's a total different word, because it's not. It's the same thing. It's just a contraction. It's very very rare that you'll see laquak and yalak fully written out. I'm not saying you won't see it, but you'll mostly see quack or lak in a contraction form. All right. I'll get back to it. Walakwa, lakora'atham, wa amartham, al-yaham, aibad-yakam, anaknawa, wa aitha. Right? Anaknawa, wa aitha, karakwa, lanawa, baryak. Right? Here we go. Verse 12. Za lahaman, it's like it, lahamanwa, za lahamanwa, kam, it's like it, ha tazatayadnawa, afwa, ma'afyanawa, bayawam, tazaafnawa, la lakha, awyakam, aitha, it's like it, wa aitha, hana, yashab, it's like it, yabash, wahaya, Baquadium, it's like in Naquadium. Verse 13. Wa ala na'adwa, hayayan, ashar mala'anawa, chadash, it's like it, chadashium, wahana, habakwash, it's like it, hadabakwa, it's like it, bakwai, it's like it, hadabakwaiwa, wa ala, Shalamawat Yanawa. Shalakia. Shalama. Shalakia. Shalamawat Yanawa. Like when the al Yanawa. Bal. Shalakia. Bala. Shalakia. Bala Mara. Haradan. Shalakia. Hadarak. Ma'ad. Verse 14. Waya quack. Waya quackwa. You see that right there? That quack again? Waya quack. It says right here in verse 14. We're in verse 14. Joshua chapter 9, verse 14. All right? It says, Waya quackwa. You see that where that says that quack? There we go again. I remember there's contractions to this. Like these words that we use in the Bible, right? The most 100 most common verbs is mostly used throughout the Bible. Here's an example. We're saying them right now. All right? It says, Waya quackwa. That quack is short for la quack. All right? It's short for la quack. All right? It's a contraction, quack. All right? Waya quackwa. ha'anash, ha'anashim, matazayadma, wa'af, paya, Yahweh la'ah, sha'alwa. Verse 15, waya aish, shalaki, wala aisha, shalaki, waya aisha laham, Yahweh shai. Okay, let me go back to verse, now on the top of verse 15, it says, waya aisha. I want y'all to know this is not, okay, aisha is another verb that you will see a lot throughout the Bible. Aisha meaning to do or to make something or to do. Aisha is a very, very common word, all right? Aisha meaning to make, all right? You'll see that a lot. Waya aisha laham, Yahweh shai, shalom, waya korat, laham, barya, all right? Lachayawah ma. Waya shabaywa, laham, nashayaya, ha'aida. Verse. All right. All right, that's it on that. All right, so now let's start at verse 9. It's like not verse 9, verse 8 in the English. All right. So Joshua, right? Khan, right? Khan, we went over last night, right? Khan. That's why also select. Your cat brought out a good point. We went over this last night. That's why it's so important to come to the Hebrew class. It's very, very important to come to the Hebrew class. Like the Hebrew class and the Sabbath service are simultaneously next to each other. It's not there. It wasn't a coincidence that the Hebrew class is before the Sabbath service class. There was no coincidence. All right, that was very spiritual. It was done that way because we speak Hebrew in the Sabbath service class. Well, you have to learn the Hebrew as well in the Hebrew class. So the Hebrew class comes before the Sabbath service class. That's spiritual. So when you come to the Hebrew class, you can learn the words in the language. And then in the Sabbath service class, you can hear the words being said and how it's being said properly. Like it's very, very important to keep that into consideration. All right. Also, remember, if anyone is tuning in the class, all right, on the YouTube, make sure you put your name, city, and state as well. All right. Don't forget to put your name, city, and state as well. So yeah, it's very, very important. All right, very important. Come to the. We need to come to the Hebrew class, right? We need to come to the Sabbath service class because it's very, very important. All right, very, very important. This is how we hold on to our culture. I was explaining this in the beginning of class. To come to the Sabbath service, we read our language in Hebrew, and we read the history of what's going on in the Hebrew. So we're also learning our history when we come to the Sabbath service class. Like we have a history class on Monday, right? Like we have a history class on Monday when we learn everything in history in the English. But also in the Sabbath service class, we learn our history, but in the Hebrew. And we learn the events that are going down, right? We're in the book of Joshua, and we're on chapter 9, verse 8. To be in some instances, it can be in some instances to be it can be to be in some instances, like Aisha can sometimes mean to be, but Hayah, the word Hayah would mostly be to be. Hayah. All right, Hayah is how you would use to be. Hayah is to be. All right. Hey, Salaki warriors, go over there. The water. Hayah would be to be. Right. So Joshua chapter 9 verse 8 in the English. And they said unto Joshua, we are thy servants. And Joshua said unto them, who are ye? And from whence come ye? So these other nations, they came to Joshua and the Israelites, and they said, we are your servants. Like, right off the rip, they started off on a good foot. All right. You know what I'm saying? They started off with a good foot. They led. They knew how to talk to the brother. All right. They knew how to talk to the Israelites. We are your servants. They didn't say we are your equals. They didn't say, we gonna be on the same accord. Nah. They said we are your servants. Hey, they led with the right foot. All right. That's the proper way to come to the Israelites. We are your servants. Indeed, you are, because the Lord chose us to be the nation in charge of the land in these nations, man. Verse 9. So Joshua asked them, where y'all coming from? Verse 9. And they said unto him, from a very far country, thy servants are come because of the name of the Most High, thy power. So now it says, we are your servants coming from a land afar because of the name, right? Of the name of the Lord thy God, meaning of the name of your power. That's why we came here, because of the name of your power. It didn't say the God of everybody. Like, this is them speaking, saying we came in the name of your power. Like, this is the reason why we're here. We are your servants, and we come here because of the name of your power, of your God. Like, that's a very important. We want to make sure we understand that one thing. Like, this is the God of our people. This is not everyone's God. This is not everyone's power. He's our power. The Lord chose us. He chose every black, Hispanic, Native Americans. Khan ayan nabar, Khan haya, Khan. All right. Verse 9. For we have heard the fame of him in all that he did in Egypt. So these nations that came afar, they said they heard what the God of Israel did in Egypt. Like, we heard the fame. Like, the Lord was famous on what he did to Egypt. You understand? Like, the Lord was famous. Like, it says, for we have heard the fame of him. The Lord was famous because of the whooping he did on the Egyptians, man. It was the ancient world star. Y'all ever heard world star of a brother or someone getting beat the hell up real bad, and whoever the brother did it is famous because of the whooping whoever the brother did a number on? So he's famous. So the Lord is famous for whooping that tail, and Egypt is famous for getting their tail whipped by the Lord. That's why these nations are saying to Joshua and the men of Israel, right? It says, for we have heard the fame of him, right? And all that he did in Egypt. Like, they heard what the Lord did in Egypt, all right, to these Egyptians for the Israelites. You understand? The Lord destroyed Egypt to the point where the other nations know we are not to mess with this power. Like, their God exists. Like, everyone knew. Here's another thing too, and we have to put that into consideration. Not consideration, but if y'all may not know, these other nations knew about the God of Israel. You understand? Like, everyone knew about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There was not knowing that our power existed. You understand? Like, everyone knew that the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob existed. Even though they believed in other gods, they knew that our God existed. You know what I'm saying? They knew that our power existed. They may have served idols and stones and rocks, and they knew that they served stones and rocks and all this, but they absolutely knew that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob existed and was real, because they seen and heard the acts of what the God of Israel did to these nations, especially Egypt. We're reading it right now in Joshua. All right. Verse 10. And all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites. So here we go. Here's the other nations, the Amorites, that were beyond Jordan, to Shihon, king of Heshbon, and to Og, king of Bashan, which was at Ashereth. It's like an Asherah. It's like an Ashtaroth. All right, Ashtaroth. Like, so these nations that are coming from the inhabitants of Gibeon over there, they heard, all right, they heard the acts and the things that the Lord did to these nations, man. like the Lord was famous. Like the Most High was famous throughout the earth and throughout the land. That's why we keep trying to speak and teach our people. It is so important that we serve the Lord. If you are an Israelite, you are to serve the Lord. Because if not, the Lord is going to be famous for whooping your tail. Does everybody understand that? You know what I'm saying? You do not want to be the world star with the Lord. You don't want to be that world star. All right? You do not want to be the world star of the Lord. You don't want that. You do not want that. Because the Lord is going to be famous, all right, for dealing with you. All right? The Lord is going to be famous for it. All right? When Christ returns, all right, the Most High and Christ is going to be famous for taking down America, let Babylon fall. You understand? And you do not want to be a part of it. That's why the Lord said in Revelations in verse 8 and chapter 18, get from ye among her, all right, so you do not share her plagues. All right, it's throughout the Bible. All right, if you didn't hear it now, you're hearing it here first. All right, you are to separate. All right, you do not want to be the world star, man. All right, let's continue reading. All right, verse 11. Wherefore our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spake to us, saying, take victuals with you for the journey, and go to meet them, and say unto them, we are your servants. Therefore, now make ye a league with us. So now the nations is explaining, all right, the nations is explaining to Joshua, all right, and explaining to the men of Israel of who sent them and why we're doing this, all right, because we are your servants, and we're giving you these things too as well, so you can make a league with us, all right. Verse 12, this our bread we took hot for our provision out of our houses on the day we came forth to go unto you. But now behold, it is dry and it is moldy. So because of how long the journey was, their bread did not last until it got to them. All right. Verse 13. And these bottles of wine which we filled were new, and behold, they be rent. And these our garments and our shoes are become old by reason of the very long journey. So because of the very long journey, like I was just saying, the bread became moldy. A lot of things started to expire. Things didn't look brand new because of how far they traveled, all right, to meet with the nation of Israel and to meet Joshua to make a league with the Israelites, all right. So they are, at the end of the day, they don't want to be put to death and be protected at the end of the day, all right. They know that the Lord is with these brothers, all right. They know that the Lord is with Israel right now. And they don't want no parts like these other nations are being dumb and stupid, and they want parts of the world star that the Lord's about to give to them. These nations are smart and trying to do their best to make a league with the Israelites and be like, I don't want that world star. I don't want that business that the Lord is going to give. All right. So we're coming up to you. All right. Because of the name that the Lord has, here's our stuff. Please accept this and make a league with us, and we will be your servants, not the equals. Not your equals, not your masters, not your slave masters, but your servants. People that work for you and do your bidding. All right. Verse 14. And the men took of their victuals and asked not counsel at the mouth of the Most High. All right. All right. Verse 15. I read verse 15 as well. And Joshua made peace with them. All right, and I read verse 15 for a reason in the Hebrew, because in the English it tells you what Joshua did. All right, and Joshua made peace with them and made a league with them to let them live, and the princes of the congregation swear upon them. So now Joshua, right? Victuals is food. So like your victuals is food. So like your victuals is food. That's why if y'all paid attention, it said mala akal in the Hebrew, mal akal. All right, it said that in the Hebrew, ma akal. So now Joshua, All right. So ma'akal is food. Now victuals in the Hebrew, all right, is matazayah. All right, matazayah. All right, matazayah. All right, that's talking about your food, your victuals, your supply, things that you hunted for. All right, victuals is food. All right. So it says, and the men took their victuals and asked not counsel at the mouth of the Most High. Verse 15, and Joshua made peace with them and made a league with them to let them live. So Joshua said, I'm going to let you live. And why did Joshua do that? Because they were going to be their servants. All right? They were going to be their servants. There was going to be no equality. They was just going to let them live. All right? They understood who the Most High was. These other nations did not care who the Lord was. All right? There were nations in the land of Canaan that did not care that the Most High existed and who the Lord was and who God chose. And they were going to continue to serve their gods and their idols and continue to kill themselves and do whatever they want to do. Right? And because of so, the Lord was not going to want them in the land that the Lord wanted the Israelites in. So those nations had to go. But then there were other nations that understood who the Lord was. All right? Who the Lord was, all right? And who he's with and what he was going to do. So they did their absolute best to travel from afar to make sure they stayed alive. They didn't want the business. All right? That's all I'm saying. They did not want what the Lord was giving out to these other nations in the land of Canaan. All right? Remember, the Israelites, we are in the beginning of establishing the nation of Israel. Like the land of Canaan is the land that the Lord promised our forefathers from the beginning. All right? Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Like this was the land that the Lord promised us. And the Lord wants this land to be absolutely clean. Like that's the spirit behind it. The Lord wants this land to be absolutely clean so the Israelites can serve him. All right? So his people can serve him and keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. All right? That was the purpose of all of this. All right? Especially those 7 nations that did not care about serving the Lord at all. All right? They didn't really care too much about serving the Lord. They still had their idols and their images and their stones and worshiping and serving them. All right? All right. With that, I say Imadium, which means to stand, just us up here. La Yashal. This would be the time that the men would come up and they were prepared to salute. They were intended to salute the Torah. I imagine, which means everyone to stand. Wapanya Hakwadam and face the east. The east is this way. What we're going to do is we're going to do the Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew. The Lord's Prayer in the Hebrew.
Abanawa, Shabashamaya, Quadash, Hayah, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakaka, Daba'a, Batazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Baarataza, Kuwa, Hayah, Bashamayim, Nathananawa, Lacham, Kal, Yawam, Wasalak Nawa, Kabawak Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kabawak Yanawa, Wala'a, Dabaya'a Nawa, Vanasayawan, Abal, Hawashai Nawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Waha'ala, Watapawa, La Awalamyam, Aman. In the English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it. Hakak, the power in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Baba Kwashah, Nathunanawa, Hakak, Hakak, Lavapa'a, Hamakala, Wakal Manawa, Hakak, Latahar, Hamadazarayim, Hakak, Lahakwayim, Hamathim, Hakak, Al-Wakawa, Hadma'ala, Lagarashun, Ba'ashim Yahushai, the water Aman. In the English, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai, please give us the power to heal all manner of sickness and all manner of disease, the power to cleanse the lepers, the power to raise the dead, the power against unclean spirits, to cast them out. In the name of Yahushua, thank you, so be it. Psalms 121 in the Hebrew. Asha'a, Ayanya, All Haharyam, Ma'ayan, Yaba'a, Isaiah, Ma'aim, Yahweh, Aisha, Shemayim, Wa'arataza, Al Yathan, Lamawat, Regalka, Al Yanawam, Shamarka, Hana, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yayashan, Shawamar, Yasha'ala, Yahweh, Shamarka, Yahweh, Tazalka, Al Yad, Yamyanka, Yawamam, Hashamash, La'a, Yakaka, Wayarak, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamarka, Makaurai, Yashamor, Afnapashka, Yahweh, Yashamor, Taza'aka, Wabawa'aka, Ma'aita, Wa'ai, Awalam, Aman. In the English, I will lift up mine eyes into the hills, from which cometh my help. My help cometh from Yahweh, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in. From this time, and this time forth, from this time forth, and even forevermore, so be it. Psalms 83 in the Hebrew. Alahayim, Al Damayah Lakah, Al Takorash, Wa Al Tashakwat, Al Kayahana, Awayab Yaka, Yahama Yawan, Woman Shanayaka, Nasha'awa, Ra'ash, Al Aimaka, Ya Arayamwa, Sawad, Wayataya Aitazawa, Al Tazapawanyaka, Amorwa, Lakawa, Wanahakidam. It's like it. Wanahakidam, Magoya, Wala'a, Yazakar, Sham Yasha'ala, Aywad, Kaya, Nawa'ai Tazawa, Lab, Yahadwa, Aldaka, Barya, Yakarakwa, Ahalya, Adawam, Wayashama'alayam, Mawa'aba, Wahagoyam, Gabal, Wa'imawad, Wa'imalak, Palasha, Anyashabya, Tazawar, Gam Ashawar, Nalawa, Imam, Hayawa, Zavawai, Labanya Lawat, Salah, Aisha Laham, Kamadyan, Kasaya Sara'a, Kayabyan, Banachal, Kwayashwan, Nashamadwa, Ba'ayanda Ara, Hayawa, Daman, La Adama, Shayatamwa, Narayamawa, Ka'ira, Wakaza'aba, Wakazabat, Wakazazalmanai, Kal, Nasayakamwa, Ashar, Amorwa, Najavasha, Lanawa, Na'awa, Alahayam, Alahaya, Shayatamwa, Kagalgala,
Kakwash, Lapanya Raka, Kaash, Deba Ira Yaiva, Wakalahaba, Talahat, Hoyam, Khan, Tharadatma, Basa Iraka, Wabasawapaka, Dabahalam, Mala'a, Panyaham, Kwalawan, Wayabakwaswa, Shamka, Yahawa, Yabashwa, Wayabahalwa, Ai, Wayahaparwa, Wayabadwa, Wayadaiwa, Kaya, Atha, Shamka, Yahawa, Labadka, Al Yawan, Al Kal, Aradaza, Amad. In the English, keep not thy silence, O Yahweh, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites, of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asher also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Salah, do unto them, as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kisan, which perished at Endor. They became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oran, and like Zaeb, yea, all their princes, as Zabah, and as Zalmunna, who said, let us take to ourselves the houses of Yahweh in possession. O my power, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth for wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name. O Yahweh, let them be confounded, and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame, and perish, that men may know that thou, whose name alone is Yahweh, art the Most High over all the earth. So be it. The blessings in the Hebrew. Barakatah Yahweh, wa Yahweh Shai, wa Maya Ka'ala, wa Alahayim, Matazab Ya'ah, Alawap Yahana, Ha Alawapyam, Ha Saranyam, Ha Kudazayanyam, Ha Kuyayolyam, Wa Awapyam, Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, the water of mud. In the English, bless you Yahweh, and Yahweh Shai, and Michael, and the angels, commanding General Yahana, the generals, the captains, the officers, the troopers, and the sisters. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. The prayer of the curses. Blessed are you, Yahweh, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, listen to us now, right now. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen that speak against us, thy prophets, the teachers, the princes, the priests, the Israelite brothers, and the school. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the heathen, and shake loose the treasure of the rich of Israel that refuse to give to the school. Force their riches to enter thy sanctuary. Send evils and curses, and punishment and destruction to the Edomites, and the nations, and the drug dealers, the court system, the prison system, Planned Parenthood, all the governments of our enemies, Amalek synagogues and armies, Roman Catholic Church, the Pope, Egyptology, Aryan Nation, the lesbian movement, spies, workers of witchcraft, NASA space programs, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Wall Street, open up the internet and the airwaves, the cable access channels, and the radio channels. Convict the spirit of any of thy people that seek to stop us, and bring swift destruction to all the heathen that stand in the way or try to stop us from broadcasting your words throughout the planet Earth. Let loose all the plagues. Let loose all the plagues. Let loose all the plagues. Cause them to go to and fro through the earth and consume them. Let the plagues shake the house of the thief and the murderer. Let Yahweh Shai, Michael and Gabriel come down with the flying saucers and punish all the heathens that come up against us as we speak thy word. Cause it to be known by all that is the angels that have done it. Cause it to be spread through the media
throughout the whole world. Cause them to shake at thy coming. In the name of Yahushua, thank you always, so be it. We're going to do bless Israel in the Hebrew. Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Barak Lanawa, Wayasha Allah, Wahab Bayaf Sapoyim, Barak, Rapa'ah, Magan, Hagan, Ba'ashem Yahushua, the water Ahmad. What we just said in the English, like what we just said in the Hebrew. Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua, bless us and Israel and the school. Bless, heal, shield, protect our loved ones. In the name of Yahushua, thank you, so be it. Sar, which means to turn. Sar, which means to turn. The Akwafit, the sisters can now be seated. Men of Israel, we're going to give recursive salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, Amadi, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, Brakathum, Yada Matah, Saw, to the sisters. Akwafit can now stand. Amadi, which means to stand. Men of Israel, we're going to give recursive salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, Ahmadiya, Barak, Yahweh Shema, Alathan, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Yada Matah. With that, class dismissed.